Good evening. Tonight, we are going to explore a remarkable album by the Smiths entitled The Queen is Dead. Which she is. And with it, one of the strangest tales ever told. To do so, we must travel to the Arctic Circle. A desolate wasteland, frozen, lonely, and devoid of life. Here, in these icy waters, we find a sea captain by the name of Robert Walton, who, centuries ago, set out on a dangerous scientific expedition to uncover the secrets of the polar ice caps and win the affections of the world. A record of his journey has been preserved in letters which he faithfully penned to his loving sister, Margaret Seville, Somerstown, London, Northwest. Mrs. Seville, England, August 5th. Dear Margaret, oh shit, I'm paraphrasing slightly. He writes, oh shit. We woke this morning to find our ship blocked in by the ice. Everything was stark white, and the crew was very upset with me. I mean, I'm telling you right now, Margaret, they were not pleased. Then the men spotted something moving out upon the frozen sea, a sledge being pulled by a team of dogs. On the back of the sledge, driving the dogs, was a figure in human form, but gigantic in stature. We watched him with our telescopes until he disappeared over the horizon. Your affectionate brother, R. Walton. I'll note here for future reference that Robert Walton always thought that he'd grow up to be a poet. But how often does that pan out? Do you remember when you were going to be a poet? Yeah. And what are you doing now? The next day, another letter. Mrs. Seville, England, August 6th. Dear Margaret, today the crew found a man floating on a bit of melting ice. He had a similar type sledge to the figure we had seen yesterday, but there was only one dog left alive, and the man was nearly dead himself. He is resting now in my cabin. A few days go by, another letter. His eyes have generally the expression of wildness and even madness. Another letter. He is now much recovered from his illness. Another letter. My affection for my guest increases every day. And then Robert Walton asks this stranger why he has come to the Arctic Circle. And the stranger replies, to seek one who fled from me. And then this stranger asks Robert Walton why he has come to the Arctic Circle. And Robert Walton, lonely, desperate, passionate Robert Walton, failed poet, speaks the word out loud. Glory! And the stranger says, do you share my madness? Have you drank also from the intoxicating draught? Hear me. Let me reveal my tale to you, and you will dash the cup from your lips. Ladies and gentlemen, the Queen is dead. Long live the Queen! Farewell to this land's cheerless marshes, hemmed in like a boar between arches. Her very lowness with her head in a sling. I'm truly sorry, but it sounds like a wonderful thing. I say Charles, don't you ever crave to appear on the front of the Daily Mail, dressed in your mother's bridal veil. Whoa. And so I checked all the registered historical facts, and I was shocked and ashamed to discover how I'm the 18th pale descendant of some old queen or other. Oh, has the world changed or have I changed? Oh, has the world changed or have I changed? Some 9-year-old tough who peddles drugs. I swear to God, I swear I never even knew what drugs were. Whoa. So I broke into the palace with a sponge and a rusty spanner. She said, I know you and you cannot sing. I said, that's nothing, you shall hear me play piano. Frankenstein, or The Modern Prometheus, is a gothic horror novel written by the English author Mary Shelley, first published in 1818. Mary Shelley was born on August 30th, 1797. The placenta broke apart during her birth and became infected. 10 days later, her mother died of septicemia. We can go for a walk where it's quiet and dry and talk about precious things. But when you're tied to your mother's apron, no one talks about castration. How many people here have read the novel Frankenstein? Round of applause, please. How many of you have seen the 1931 film starring Boris Karloff? How many of you have seen the Rocky Horror Picture Show? How many of you have seen the Mel Brooks movie, Young Frankenstein? Stay close to the candles. The staircase can be treacherous. These are just a few of the works inspired by Mary Shelley's original text. The Frankenstein tale is so embedded in our culture that I suspect even if you've never read the book, you know the story of the mad genius Victor Frankenstein, who, late one night, makes a miraculous scientific discovery, the precious secret of life itself. Oh, we can go for a walk where it's quiet and dry and talk about precious things like love and law and poverty. Oh, these are the things that kill me. Oh. Loved the Frankenstein story ever since I read it for the first time back in the 10th grade. Also, I love turning the word Frankenstein into a verb. To Frankenstein something is to seemingly stitch seemingly disparate items or ideas together to create something totally new. Shall we try it? Okay, so when I was in the 10th grade, the same year that I read Mary Shelley's Frankenstein for the first time, I was obsessed with an album called Little Earthquakes by Tori Amos. Yes. There were all sorts of gays in the 90s. I was a Tory gay. Now, I took a lot of shit in high school, chiefly from the members of our school's soccer team. This was in North Carolina, the Bible Belt, and these boys saw me as some sort of strange creature to be shunned and reviled. They were so cruel to me, calling me names, throwing things at me, crumpled up bits of paper, pencils, erasers, and one time, a used tampon. I used to lie in my bed at night and allow the image of each of their faces to slide across the overhead projector of my mind while I furiously masturbated into a sock. He said, you're really an ugly girl, but I like the way you play. And I died, but I thanked him. Can you believe that? Sick, holding on to his picture, dressing up every day. I want to smash the faces of those beautiful boys, those Christian boys, so you can make me come. That doesn't make you Jesus. These precious things, let them bleed, let them wash away these precious things, let them break their hold on me. We can go for a walk where it's quiet and dry and talk about precious things, but the rain that flattens my hair, whoa, these are the things that kill me. All their lies about makeup and long hair are still there. And where are those soccer players now? Oh, we're still back in that little town in North Carolina, no doubt, trapped in stagnant marriages surrounded by drooling, hateful children. Would I still fuck them? Oh yes. Now, more than ever, past the pub that saps your body and the church who'll snatch your money. The queen is dead, boys, and it's so lonely on a limb. And where am I? Well, I am standing on a stage surrounded by adoring fans. A star, a quote, downtown darling of the New York cabaret scene. Do I feel sympathy for those poor boys? Ladies and gentlemen, I've lived in New York for over 2 decades now. I can assure you, I haven't had a feeling in a very long time. Past the pub that wrecks your body, and the church, all they want is your money. The queen is dead, boys, and it's so lonely on a limb. Life is very long when you're lonely. 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 Thank you. Hello, my name is Salty Brine, and this is the Living Record Collection. Oh, how the hell are you? My God, okay. Mary Shelley, yes, was born Mary Godwin. Her mother, Mary Wollstonecraft, a writer herself and an early feminist, died, yes, woo, yes. She very sadly died in childbirth. And when Mary turned 16 years old, she fell in love with a man by the name of Percy Bysshe Shelley. Yes, that's right, Bysshe is his middle name. And Bysshe was a married man, 22 years old, a radical poet with very little money. But for some reason, Mary's father didn't like him. He was like, Bysshe, please. So, when Mary turned 18 years old, Mary and Bysshe began to meet in secret at Mary's mother's grave in St. Pancras Churchyard in London. And the story goes that she gave herself to him there among the tombstones. When Mary turned 18 years old, the couple ran away together. They traveled to Geneva, Switzerland, and they took up with a group of writers, including the poet Lord Byron, a promiscuous bisexual with a club foot. This group of writers, chiefly Mary, Bysshe, Byron, also the poet John Keats, and a slew of others, would later become known as the Romantics. When we talk about literary romanticism, this is who we're talking about. Oh my God, I sound so smart right now. Anyway, back in Switzerland, it rained incessantly during their time in Geneva. They were trapped indoors most days. To pass the time, Lord Byron proposed a competition to see who could write the scariest ghost story. That night, Mary had a terrifying dream, the subject of which would eventually become the novel Frankenstein. In the novel, Mary Shelley tells the story of a brilliant young man named Victor Frankenstein. She places his birth in Geneva, Switzerland, where he's raised by a loving family and has an idyllic childhood. When Victor turns 5 years old, his mother takes in an orphaned girl by the name of Elizabeth Lavenza. The two grow up together, and it is expected when they come of age that they will marry. Oh, Elizabeth blossoms into a beautiful young woman. She's so pretty, and I'm sure nothing bad will happen to her. When I was in the 10th grade, I wrote a poem for a class assignment about a little island I had visited off the coast of Maine, and my teacher praised the poem and had it published in the local newspaper. Suddenly, I had been given the worst thing a young poet can receive: self-esteem. Now, all the while, all through the many years leading up to this moment, I had felt that there was something different about me. And one day, as I was color coordinating my outfit for school, I suddenly realized what I was. I stood there looking at my reflection in the mirror. I saw myself for the first time, and I spoke the words out loud. Salty, you're talented. Frankly, Mr. Shankly, this position I've held, it pays my way and it corrodes my soul. I want to leave, you will not miss me. I want to go down in musical history. Frankly, Mr. Shankly, I'm a skinny wreck. I've got the 21st century breathing down my neck. I want to burst. You will not miss me. I want to go down in celluloid history. Mr. Shankly. Thank you. Sometimes when I'm writing my shows, I have what I call the Oprah interview problem. Do you have this? It's where I'm meant to be working on something when suddenly, without my even noticing it, my brain slips into a fantasy wherein Oprah Winfrey is interviewing me. And I'm saying something like, well, Oprah, I was living in Brooklyn at the time. Whoa! And I had just finished reading Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, and I was listening to this Smiths album on a loop, and I don't know, something just clicked. And Oprah says, Salty, that's fascinating! And I say, you know, it is, isn't it? Fame, fame, fatal fame. It can play hideous tricks on the brain. But still I'd rather be famous than righteous or holy. Any day, any day, any day. Of course, I'm not famous. Or, if I am famous for anything, it's for being the slut of Fort Greene, Brooklyn. Have you ever had gonorrhea of the throat? I have. Twice. But sometimes I feel more fulfilled making Christmas cards with the mentally ill. I want to live and I want to love. I want to catch something that I might be ashamed of. When I was 23 years old, I wrote a poem about an experience I had at the West Side Club, which is a gay bathhouse in Chelsea. Pretty little punk caught the corner of his eye. Put your junk up in my trunk. Felt him brush against my thigh. Let our towels fall forever. No, I never saw it coming. Then the sound of slapping leather with our mouths together humming. And his prick was shot with silver. And his smile slick with me. When he aimed his hips to pulverize, I wised up rapidly. I said, babe, you need a rubber. Well, he rolled his beady eyes, but he found that I was stubborn and saw straight through his disguise. I was out the door to get one, but was back within a flash, and he didn't seem to be undone, still wanted up my gash. Then we found some spots to tickle, bits to lick and parts to chafe. Then he tried to put his dick in me again, not thinking safe. I said, babe, you need a rubber. Well, he rolled his beady eyes, but he slipped into the cover, cause I wouldn't otherwise. And I should have walked away from him and said, your future's looking grim. But I let him fuck my brains out, cause his dick was just my size. Frankly, Mr. Shankly, this position I've held, it pays my way and it corrodes my soul. Oh, I didn't realize that you wrote poetry. I didn't realize you wrote such bloody awful poetry, Mr. Shankly. I wrote terrible, dirty poetry for years and years. I mean, I really, really did think that I was going to grow up to be a renowned poet, but it was not to be. Luckily, I found my way into the theater, which is, as you know, extremely lucrative. Frankly, Mr. Shankly, since you asked, you are a flatulent pain in the ass. I do not mean to be so rude. Still, I must speak frankly, Mr. Shankly. Oh, give us money. Thank you. Just a little sip. In 1815, before her trip to Geneva and the beginnings of the Frankenstein story, Mary Godwin, as she was still called then, became pregnant by Percy Shelley. The child was born 2 months premature and died in just a few short weeks. Mary was, of course, devastated and spoke of being haunted by the child. She gave birth to a second child, a son, William, in 1817, and a daughter, Clara, in 1818. By June of 1819, they were both dead. She became pregnant again in 1822, but miscarried in June of that year. It seems, as a mother, Mary Shelley was cursed. Oh, mother, I can feel the soil falling over my head. And as I climb into an empty bed, oh well, enough said. I know it's over, still I cling. I don't know where else I can go, mother. On July 8th, 1822, Percy Shelley set out in a small boat off the coast of Italy. He encountered a storm at sea. 10 days later, his body washed up on the coast. He was only 29 years old. Oh, mother, I can feel the soil falling over my head. See, the sea wants to take me. The knife wants to slit me. Do you think you can help me? Sad veiled bride, please be happy. Handsome groom, give a room. Loud, loutish lover, treat her kindly, though she needs you more than she loves you. I know it's over, still I cling. I don't know where else I can go. It's over, it's over, it's over, it's over, it's over, it's over. I'm unbelievable in bed. It's true. After every sexual encounter I have, be it hipster or Wall Street executive, Uber driver, or the guy that changes the newspaper at the bottom of the birdcage at the liquor store, It's always the same. The panting, the begging, the moaning, the light crying, the sweet release. Then, after I untie him, he crawls into my arms. I hold him tenderly. He rests his head on my chest. I look down at him and I think, get out of my apartment. I haven't had a boyfriend in years. I've dabbled. Little flings here and there. A couple of things that lasted a few weeks, maybe a month. Nothing sticks. My last boyfriend, sweet Matt. I thought I loved him, but I was performing boyfriends and not being boyfriends. Do you know what I mean when I say that? One night I was lying in his bed and he was asleep next to me, and I looked over at him and I knew, and it wasn't fair to him. So I woke him up in the middle of the night and I told him I was leaving, and he screamed at me for hurting him. And he was right. He was absolutely right. He got married a few years ago to a terrific guy, and they're so happy together, and I'm so happy for them. Truly I am. Whatever. I don't need him. I don't need any of them. I have you. I know it's over, and it never really began, but in my heart it was so real. And you spoke to me and said, if you're so funny, then why are you on your own tonight? And if you're so clever, then why are you on your own tonight? If you're so very entertaining, then why are you on your own tonight? If you're so very good looking, then why do you sleep alone tonight? I know, because tonight is just like any other night. That's why you're on your own tonight. With your triumphs and your charms, while they are in each other's arms. When my ex-boyfriend Matt told me that he was engaged, I called his mother up on the phone. I always make friends with a mother. That way, when whoever I'm dating does something I don't like, I can call her up and say, guess what your son did to me now? I love you too, Nancy. Of course we're still going to hang out. I still have coffee with her every 6 months just to piss him off. It's so easy to laugh, it's so easy to hate. It takes strength to be gentle and kind. Over, 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 over. When Victor Frankenstein reaches adolescence, he is struck by Elizabeth's beauty. But he is drawn to the natural sciences. One day, he witnesses a violent and terrible thunderstorm. An old oak tree is struck by lightning and bursts into flames, leaving nothing but a charred stump. Victor marvels at the power of nature. And so, he departs Geneva and Elizabeth for the university at Ingolstadt in Germany. He has made his choice. His work must come first. Don't feel badly, Elizabeth. You're so pretty. I'm sure it'll all work out in the end. It's so easy to laugh, it's so easy to hate. It takes guts to be gentle and kind. Over, 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 whoa. unnatural and real. But not for you, my love, not tonight, my love. Love is natural and real, but not for such as you and I, my love. When Victor arrives at Ingolstadt, he begins his studies, and he rents an apartment, and he reserves a room in that apartment which will serve as his laboratory, and he fills it with scientific equipment. And all over Ingolstadt, people are dying of natural causes, as people do. A heart attack, a terrible accident, old age, that's fair. And one by one, they are buried in the churchyards and cemeteries of Ingolstadt, and their corpses begin to rot in the ground. Oh, Mother, I can feel the soil falling over my head. Oh, Mother, I can feel the soil falling over my head. Oh, Mother, I can feel the soil falling over my head. My head. Oh, Mother, I can feel the soil falling over my head. My head. Oh, Mother, I can feel the soil falling over my head.
Raindrops keep falling on my head.
Raindrops keep falling on my head.
Raindrops keep falling on my head.
Raindrops keep falling. Shall we talk about the monster in the room? Morrissey is the lyricist and frontman of the indie rock band The Smiths. The Smiths were only together for 5 years, but they made a ton of incredible music during that time together, and including the incredibly vulnerable and tender album that we're enjoying this evening. And then Morrissey grew up and became a total fucking asshole. He is extremely anti-immigrant. He has made a series of racist comments very publicly. He is deeply intolerant of people whom he deems different. His lyrics cry out, "I am human and I need to be loved." And his actions say, "Get out of here, you don't belong." This we recognize, yes? I mean, this hypocrisy we have seen before. In fact, we can find it right here in this book. There is a story in the novel about immigrants and intolerance, which is unexpected. It's a surprise in the middle of an already surprising book, but it is crucial to understanding Mary Shelley's point. And that story goes like this.
And 4.
Istanbul was Constantinople, now it's Istanbul, not Constantinople. Been a long time gone, Constantinople, still it's Turkish delight on a moonlit night. Our story begins in the glittering city of Paris, where a handsome young Frenchman, a Christian named Felix, lives with his dear sister Agatha and their blind father, an old man named Monsieur de Lacy. One day, Felix meets a beautiful Turkish woman, a Muslim named Safi. At the very moment that Safi and Felix meet, they experience the most powerful alchemical reaction known to man. Love at first sight. Or, as the French say, coup de foudre, lightning strikes. A Christian man and a Muslim woman in love. Every gal in Constantinople lives in Istanbul, not Constantinople. So if you've a date in Constantinople, she'll be waiting in Istanbul. Now, these two young sweethearts do not share a common language. They cannot communicate with words. So, still their love blossoms, and they make plans to wed. But Safi's father, Hakan, a tyrant of a man, has no intention of allowing his daughter to marry a Christian. He is blind to their love. He cannot see beyond their difference. He is afraid of a changing world. Remind you of anybody? Even old New York was once New Amsterdam. Why they changed it, I can't say. People just liked it better that way. So, in the dark of night, while Felix sleeps, his sweet Safi is stolen away by her father against her will. They quickly depart Paris for the ancient city of Constantinople. So take me back to Constantinople. No, you can't go back to Constantinople. Been a long time gone, Constantinople. Why did Constantinople get the works? And that's nobody's business but the Turks. Hey! Now, thank you. Felix, poor Felix, is beside himself with grief over the loss of his one true love, the beautiful Safi. He is inconsolable. He turns to his loving family for support, his dear sister Agatha and their blind father. The three of them decide to leave Paris for good. They travel to Germany, where they get a humble cottage in the woods on the outskirts of Ingolstadt, the very town in which Victor Frankenstein is carrying out his studies. There, Felix lives out his lonely days in heartbreak, and his nights are full of longing dreams for his beautiful Safi. So take me back to Constantinople. No, you can't go back to Constantinople. Been a long time gone, Constantinople. Why did Constantinople get the works? That's nobody's business but the Turks! When I was 15 years old, I wrote a poem about my first kiss. A kiss. My world unravels. A blindness overcomes, ensnaring me in its thicket of briars. One move, one change, pain. But for now, I yearn for more. With one touch, I know him, but I know nothing. He holds me close. I touch his face. Trapped within the thicket, I wait for the prick. He is mine within this moment. Nothing more, more than less. Less is more. We part. He whispers, soft and sweet. To remember me, he says. A kiss. I wouldn't have my first kiss for another 3 years. And it was not like that poem. I wanted to be in love so badly. I was desperate for it, and I didn't have any luck in high school or most of college, but senior year at NYU, I did fall in love with a really sweet boy who loved me back, and we sat on the futon in my disgusting apartment in Queens. And we looked into each other's eyes, but could not believe that we had found each other. Coup de foudre, lightning strikes. A year later, he broke up with me at Charles de Gaulle Airport in Paris. Rude! We were boarding different flights. He was headed to California. I was on my way back to New York. I locked myself in the airplane lavatory and stayed in there the entire flight. Surely someone needed the bathroom, but not as bad as me. Joni Mitchell wrote, all romantics meet the same fate someday. Cynical and drunk and boring someone in some dark cafe. When you walk without ease on the streets where you were raised, I had a really bad dream. It lasted 20 years, 7 months, and 27 days. I know that I never You're walking the streets of Ingolstadt late one night. All is dark, save for a single candle flickering in the window of some lonely flat. You slowly approach and peer inside. There, you see a young student working late into the night, studying his books, poring over their pages, searching for the answer to some question that seems to haunt him, that will not let him rest. Now you're in Fort Greene, Brooklyn. It's 8:30 a.m., you have your coffee, you're headed to the subway. You pass by an unrenovated brownstone, crumbling, derelict. Through a space in the Venetian blinds, you see a young financial analyst who is going to be late for work. You hear him scream as the cat o' nine tails cracks across his lower back, and you think, Jesus, Salty, it's Tuesday. Now I'm outside your house. I'm alone. Now I'm outside your house. I hate to intrude. Oh, I know I'm alone. I'm alone. I'm alone. I'm alone. I'm alone. And I never father used to tell this joke. Every time we would pass by an old church, he would say, how many people do you think are dead in that graveyard? And I'd say, I don't know. And he'd say, all of them. And then he'd laugh and laugh. What a dark joke to tell a kid. Have you thought about how you'd like to die? I feel like most people want to die in their sleep. I hear that a lot. He just fell asleep and died. Oh, you can't ask for a better way to go than that. Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me, fell asleep and died? There's no style in that whatsoever. I think I would like to be assassinated publicly. People screaming in slow motion. But to die in your sleep would be terrible. Oh, and then you couldn't choose your last words. I love famous last words, and you've got to think about it. You've got to be ready. Eugene O'Neill said, I knew it. Born in a hotel room, and God damn it, died in a hotel room. Tallulah Bankhead's last words were, codeine, bourbon, which I respect enormously. Joan Crawford's last words were sensational. On her deathbed, her maid started praying for her, and she shouted, don't you dare ask God to help me. And Mary and Bish began to meet in secret at Mary's mother's grave in St. Pancras Churchyard in London. A dreaded sunny day, so I'll meet you at the cemetery gates. Keats and Yeats are on your side. A dreaded sunny day, so I'll meet you at the cemetery gates. Keats and Yeats are on your side. While Wilde is on mine. The English poet John Keats died of tuberculosis in Rome on February 23rd, 1821. He was only 25 years old. On his deathbed, his traveling companion asked him how he was feeling, and he replied, "Better, my friend. I feel the daisies growing over me." The Irish poet W.B. Yeats died in Menton, France on January 28th, 1939, at the age of 73. He wrote a poem from his deathbed which ends, "I must lie down where all the ladders start, in the foul rag and bone shop of the heart." The last thoughts of both of these men, so beautiful, so earnest. And then there was Oscar Wilde. Wilde died on the 30th of November, 1900, of an infection he developed from an injury he received in prison, where he served 2 years hard labor for being a homosexual. On his deathbed, he famously said, "Either this wallpaper goes or I do." The comic, the ironist, the wit, oh. All three of these men were greatly inspired by the poet Percy Shelley, Mary Shelley's husband, who, as I said, drowned at sea at the age of 29. And my grandfather asks, how many people do you think are dead in that graveyard? So we go inside, and we gravely read the stones. All those people, all those lives, where are they now? With the loves and hates and passions just like mine. They were born and then they lived and then they died. Seems so unfair and I want to cry. You say ere thrice the sun done salutation to the dawn, and you claim these words as your own. But I've read well and I've heard them said 100 times, maybe less, maybe more. If you must write prose and poems, the word you use should be your own. Don't plagiarize or take on loans. There's always someone somewhere with a big nose who knows, who trips you up and laughs when you fall. Who'll trip you up and laugh when you fall. I observed the natural decay of the human body. I saw how the worm inherited the wonders of the eye and brain. I paused, examining this change from life to death and death to life, until from the midst of this darkness a sudden light broke in upon me. I was surprised that among so many men of genius who had directed their inquiries towards the same science, that I alone should be reserved to discover so astonishing a secret. Victor Frankenstein and Mary Shelley. You say ere long done, do, does, did. Words that could only be your own. And then produce the text from whence was ripped some dizzy whore 1804. When Percy Shelley's body washed up on shore, in his pocket they found a small book, a collection of poems by John Keats. All romantics meet the same fate someday. A dreaded sunny day, so let's go where we're happy, and I'll meet you at the cemetery gates. Keats and Yeats are on your side. A dreaded sunny day, so let's go where we're wanted, and I'll meet you at the cemetery gates. Keats and Yeats are on your side, but you lose because Weird Lover Wild is on mine. You know, there's a lot about lightning that we don't understand. Yes, and that's because lightning is very unpredictable. You never know where it's going to strike. My father used to host a morning drive radio show in Boston, and stand-up comics used to come into the studio and do their acts on the air, like big, famous comics. And every now and then, my dad would bring me into the studio to watch the show live. Watching someone land a joke and get a laugh was the single greatest thing I had ever seen in my life. It was electric. So, one day, I must have been around 11 or 12 years old, and I thought of a joke. And I felt really good about it. I mean, it was funny. And I decided I was going to tell it. So I stood up in this room full of professional comics, and I said the joke out loud, and the whole room went silent. I totally bombed first time out of the gate, and I ran out of the room crying. That night, lying in my bed, I made a promise to myself. I thought one day, I'm going to make whole rooms of people laugh. And if they don't laugh... If they don't laugh, may God have mercy on their souls. Sweetness, sweetness, I was only joking when I said I'd like to smash every tooth in your head. Sweetness, sweetness, I was only joking when I said by rights you should be bludgeoned in your bed. And now I know how Joan of Arc felt. Now I know how Joan of Arc felt. As the flames rose to her Roman nose and her Walkman started to melt. In order to bring his creation to life, Frankenstein has to make the monster enormous, 8 feet in height and every piece in proportion. He unearths cadavers from graveyards all over Ingolstadt, rips them apart, and stitches them back together again until the creature begins to take shape. It has yellow skin which barely stretches over the muscles and arteries beneath. It has long black hair, a shriveled complexion, straight black lips, and pearly white teeth. It's beautiful, he thinks. Now I know what it feels like to be God. And then, one stormy night, he watches as the dull yellow eye opens. It's alive. It's moving. It's alive. It's alive. It's alive. Bigmouth, la da 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 da. Bigmouth, la da da da. Bigmouth strikes again, and I got no right to take my place in a human face. Oh, 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 Bigmouth, la da 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 da. Bigmouth, la da da da. Bigmouth strikes again, and I got no right to take my place in a human face. And now I know how Joan of Arc felt. Now I know how Joan of Arc felt. As the flames rose to her Roman nose and her hearing aid started to melt. And then the creature breathes hard. Its limbs begin to convulse. He's done it. He's succeeded in creating life. And what does Victor Frankenstein do? He runs out of the room screaming. And when he returns, the monster is gone, has escaped, and Victor collapses on the floor and he starts shouting, "Save me, save me, save me!" And then he's gripped with fever and madness for a year. Eventually, he is well enough to read a letter from his love, Elizabeth, who I would just like to reiterate here, I'm not worried about in the slightest. Elizabeth writes with terrible news. Victor's younger brother, William, is dead, has been murdered, strangled to death. Huge black marks found around his neck. Now, maybe you're thinking, Victor has a younger brother? When did that happen? Which is sort of how you feel when you're reading the book, but hey, that's plot for you. He has a brother, now he's dead. Try to stay invested. Victor races back to Geneva, and on the night of his return, there is a terrible storm. There on the road, the lightning cracks, illuminating for a moment a figure moving in the distance at great speed. A chill runs down Victor's spine, and he knows then who has killed his younger brother. It is the demon that he himself created! But everyone else thinks this young girl Justine did it. She's a friend of the family, as she was the last person to see William alive. Of course, Justine didn't do it. They just don't have anyone else to blame. And Victor can't say, here's the thing, I made a man and he's a monster. So they execute poor Justine. Yes. You know, Elizabeth, I was just thinking, that was the only other woman in the book so far, and she died really quickly. That's a bit spooky, isn't it? Are you doing okay? Okay, good, just checking. So, they kill Justine, and Victor's like, oh my God, this is all my fault. The whole thing sends him into a state of total despair. So, he spends the next few weeks wandering the Swiss Alps, as naturally you would. And one day, he finds himself on the side of Mont Blanc, the highest mountain in the Alps. This is theater for Alps. And suddenly, he sees this figure racing toward him. This figure that has the shape of a man, but that can move at superhuman speed. It's the creature, obviously. And the creature runs right up to Frankenstein, and Frankenstein says, I'm gonna kill you, monster! Which is laughable because the monster is enormous and very, very strong, but he says it anyway. And then the monster says, oh, the monster can speak, by the way. The monster is totally fluent in French. And like, how is that even possible? And the monster says, sweetness, sweetness, I was only joking when I said I'd like to smash every tooth in your head. Sweetness, sweetness, I was only joking when I said by rights you should be bludgeoned in your bed. And Frankenstein says, die, fiend! And the monster says, you created me and then abandoned me, but I have a task for you, and once it is complete, I will haunt you no more. I will leave and never return. And Victor says, where will you go? And the monster says, South America! But there's a lot of people that live in South America. Like, what about all those people? But anyway, and the monster says, do we have a deal? And Frankenstein says, never! And after I bombed in front of all of those professional comics who I had looked up to for years and years, I auditioned for and got the lead role in the High School Musical 3 years in a row. And then I auditioned for and was accepted at NYU, where I received a coveted BFA in theater from that aforementioned prestigious university. And I started performing in plays and musicals all over the city. And I created the Living Record Collection cabaret series. And I became a, quote, downtown darling of the New York cabaret scene, which has led me to this very stage where I'm standing before you tonight. Big mouth, la da 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 da. Big mouth, la da da da. Big mouth strikes again, and I got no right to be confident to make you memories. Oh, 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 oh. Big mouth, la da 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 da. Big mouth, la da da da. Big mouth strikes again. this is my back. You know, New York is a very sexy city, isn't it? There's like a lot of sexy people that live here. Every now and then I run into someone I wouldn't sleep with, but not very often. And I fall in love at least 10 times a day. Does this happen to you? Walking down the street? Yes, you know. And you see someone, or sitting on the subway, and you look across from you, and there's this person, and your whole life together stretches out before you. And then you transfer at Canal, and it's on to the next relationship. And that's what New Yorkers call dating. So, the truth is, I'm not very good at one-on-one. I'm only good at one-on-many. Thank you. And I mean that in every sense. You're imagining it. So, Victor and the monster are on a side of a mountain in the Swiss Alps. And the monster demands that his creator hear him out. And Victor says, why should I? And the monster says, life, although it is an accumulation of anguish, is dear to me, and I will defend it. And Victor says, oh, Jesus Christ. I mean, okay, fine. And then the monster tells Victor this story. When the monster comes to life that stormy night in Victor's laboratory, Victor runs out of the room. And the monster, terrified and new to life, stumbles out into the street and wanders off. And he finds himself in the German forest, where he takes shelter in a little shed, which is attached to the side, God bless you, which is attached to the side of a humble cottage in the woods. And through the cracks in the walls of the little shed, he can see that there's a family living in the cottage. An old blind man named Monsieur de la Scie, his kindly daughter Agatha, and her handsome brother Felix. And the monster can see that the family is quite poor and quite sad. The son is especially sad. So the monster decides he's going to help them. Every night he goes out and he collects firewood for them. The family has no idea who their secret angel is, but they are so pleased. And seeing this, the monster becomes very fond of the little family. So, one night, the monster's out collecting firewood, and he sees his reflection in a pond. He sees himself for the first time, and he knows that he is hideous. It's okay. He wants to make friends with the nice family, but he's afraid that they will be repulsed by him. After all, he's a monster. The boy with the thorn in his side, behind the hatred there lies a murderous desire for love. How can they see the love in my eyes and still they don't believe me? How can they hear me say those words and still they don't believe me? And if they don't believe me now, will they ever believe me? And if they don't believe me now, will they ever believe me? Oh, 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 oh. So, one day, As the monster is observing the family through his cracks in the wall, a knock comes on the cottage door. When Agatha opens the door, she finds a beautiful dark-haired woman named Sophie. Felix leaps to his feet, overjoyed at the sight of his one true love, and he runs to her, and he takes her in his arms. Now remember, Sophie does not speak the language of the little family, so every night they gather around the fire, and Felix teaches Sophie to speak and read in what the monster comes to learn is French. And as Sophie learns French, so does the monster. Istanbul, c'est Constantinople, c'est à Istanbul ou Constantinople que je suis allé un jour pour y découvrir la grande amour que l'on attend toujours. This just totally blows the monster's mind. I mean, he starts picking up things left and right. He begins to understand their conversations. He learns that the family had come from a grand city called Paris, and that Sophie had traveled hundreds of miles from a beautiful country called Turkey. She had escaped her tyrannical father and run to her true love's side. Now the monster's heart is full. He can't take it anymore. He has to meet them. So he waits until the old man is alone in the house, and he knocks on the door. He risks everything. And because Monsieur de Lacy is blind, he is not afraid. But when the rest of the family returns, at the first sight of the monster's terrifying form, mayhem ensues. Felix attacks the monster and chases him off into the woods. He cannot see beyond their difference, despite the intolerance he himself has faced. Remind you of anybody? That night, when the monster returns to the cottage, he finds that all of the family's belongings are gone. They have left for good, and he knows then that no one will ever see him for what he really is. And he knows the man who is responsible. He burns down the cottage and vows to get revenge on his creator. I am the sun and the air of a shyness that is criminally vulgar. I am the sun and air of nothing in particular. You shut your mouth, how can you say I go about things the wrong way? I am human and I need to be loved just like everybody else does. I had a terrible first kiss, and I got my heart, I laid in bed every night dreaming of love until I got my heart broken at Charles de Gaulle. And one day I realized I was always performing boyfriends and not being boyfriends. I've never been brave enough to knock on the door. So I've stopped trying. I've become cynical about love. But a cynic is just a romantic who lives in New York. The boy with the thorn in his side, behind the hatred there lies a plundering desire for love. How can they see the love in our eyes and still they don't believe us? And after all this time, they don't want to believe us. And if they don't believe us now, will they ever believe us? And when you want to live, how do you start? Where do you go? Who do you need to know? Oh. Thank you. Anal douching, to use a clinical term, if I may, is when you rinse out your caboodle so you can have sexy times in your special place. I like you. I wrote this poem when I was 20 years old. It is called Ode to My Enema Bulb. Oh, enema bulb, dear enema bulb, you keep my asshole clean and sweet. My pucker's never been so neat. A treat for any liquored liquor, poker, sticker, tongue, or tickler. Start out slow and finish quicker. Make it bigger with your pricker. Stiff and stick, I'm coming quick. Don't touch my dick, don't touch my dick. Oh shit, oh shit, oh! Holy enema bulb. Your bright red squeezer aimed to please me on my knees and flush my feces out with ease. I squeeze, I squeeze, I squeeze, release, and find some peace within the crease of parting cheeks. Sublimely chic. My big red squeaker, rear end leaker, shit bit seeker, butthole tweaker, lean and lunge with each red squeak. I'm not a freak, I'm just a sponge for my refreshing bum flush plunge. Thank you. Yes, it's hilarious, isn't it? Oh, I mean, really. You know, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here tonight for your entertainment. I have come, as always, to delight you. I stand up here, you sit down there. Way, way down there. It's a lovely little arrangement. I imagine the view from down there is extraordinary. It's a shame I'll never see it. Sometimes I like to imagine what it must be like. I close my eyes and I can almost picture you picturing me. I was minding my business, lifting some lead off the roof of the Holy Name Church. It was worthwhile living a laughable life to set my eyes on the blistering sight of a vicar in a tutu. He's not strange, he just wants to live his life this way. A scanty bit of a thing with a decorative ring that wouldn't cover the head of a goose. As Rose counts the money in the canister, who comes sliding down the banister? A vicar in a tutu. He's not strange, he just wants to live his life this way. The monkish Monsignor with his head full of plaster says, my men get your vials so dry cleaned. As Rose counts the money in the canister, as natural as rain, he dances again. My God, the vicar in a tutu. Oh yeah, oh yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, 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 oh. So, Victor and the monster are on a side of the mountain in the Swiss Alps. And the monster has just finished telling Victor his story. And then he says, you made me this hideous beast standing before you. I am grotesque. I am unlovable. I am all alone. I demand that you build a second creature, someone to love me, someone I can care for. Do this or be ruined by my hand. And Victor doesn't want to, but he agrees to build a second creature if they promise to both go away to South America and leave him alone forever. The monster races off into the mountains, and Victor sails out to a little remote island off the coast, and he rents a house, and he fills it with scientific equipment, and he begins his work, not gleefully now, but more and more disgusted with every stitch. Still he continues until the thing is lying there on the slab before him, ready to be animated by his own secret discovery of the very essence of life itself. But he can't bring the thing bring himself to do it, and he destroys the thing there on the table. Just then, the monster appears. He's been watching. He sees what Victor has done, and he cries out, "I will be with you on your wedding night!" And he races off into the darkness. Oh, Elizabeth. Oh, Elizabeth. At times like these, I mean, what can one say? Would you like to hear a poem that I wrote? It's about the first porn video I ever owned. It was filmed in the Czech Republic, Elizabeth. And the title of the film was Checkmating. Isn't that clever? Yeah. It was on a VHS tape. Do you know what a VHS tape is, Elizabeth? A VHS tape is just about as endangered as you are at this very moment, I'm afraid. Which is why I'd like to dedicate this poem about checkmating to you. I like the way his body sprawls, legs splayed, arms stretched, pinching pink flesh while he rubs himself on the carpet beneath himself. What stealth! Isn't that a charming poem? I really did think that I was going to grow up to be a renowned poet, but it was not to be. Instead, I became a star. Well, what can you do? But no, I really do love the theater, and I love to hear an audience applaud. But you, thank you. But you can't take an audience home with you. At least, not all of them. My God, it's lonely at the top. You think I wouldn't live like you if I could, but I can't. I can't help it. I'm hilarious. The next day in the pulpit with freedom and ease, combating ignorance, dust, and disease. As Rose counts the money in the canister, as natural as rain, he dances again and again and again and again and again and again and again in the fabric of a tutu. Any man could get used to. And I am a living sign. I'm a living sign. I am a living sign. A living sign. Sign. I am a living sign. A living sign. I am a living sign. Oh, Jesus. How does one get up off the floor? I've totally forgotten. I'll just stay down here. So Victor heads back home to Geneva, and Elizabeth is there waiting for him. And she says, "Can we get married already, for Christ's sake?" And Victor says, "You know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna get married, and the monster's gonna show up, and I'll be ready for him. Whatever happens, happens. There's nothing else I can do." So he proposes, and they make arrangements. And then Victor and Elizabeth are wed. And And that night, they headed on their honeymoon, and Elizabeth slips into a sheer negligee and little black marabou high heel slippers, and nothing else. She freshens her lipstick, she touches up her hair, perhaps a spritz of decadent perfume. She climbs into bed and she stretches out in a sexy kind of pose. This is your moment, Elizabeth. You've been waiting 30 years for Victor to fuck you. You're hungry for it, you're trembling, you're creaming in your knickers. And then the monster comes along and strangles you to death. Oh, Elizabeth. Elizabeth. You died a virgin. And the moral of that story is, get it while you can, kids. Okay? So, now Victor is really pissed. And he starts chasing the monster over land and sea, but the monster is so strong and so fast that he's always just out of reach. And he starts toying with Victor, leading him farther and farther north because the monster can withstand crazy weather and super cold temperatures. But Victor can't. And then, eventually, they both get dog sleds. And Victor is chasing the monster out across the ice. Ah, mush, mush, ah. Mary Shelley died of brain cancer on February 1st, 1851, at the age of 53, in London. In her desk, they found locks of her dead children's hair, a notebook she shared with her husband, Percy, and one of his poems wrapped around a silk parcel containing the remains of his heart. In 1818, she gave us the story of a sea captain by the name of Robert Walton, who travels to the Arctic Circle in search of glory. Instead, and by complete accident, he finds a man out on the ice, half crazed and nearly dead. And this man tells Robert Walton a story, an incredible story, almost unbelievable. And when he finishes the telling of it, he urges Robert Walton to turn his ship around, to leave the freezing waters of the Arctic and return to people, to give up his search for glory, and surround himself with anyone he can find who might love him. And then Victor dies there, in that desolate wasteland. And Robert Walton, lonely, desperate, passionate Robert Walton, failed poet, speaks the word out loud. Take me out tonight, because I want to see people and I want to see life. Driving in your car, I never want to go home, because I haven't got one anymore. Take me out tonight, where there's music and there's people who are young and alive. Driving in your car, Oh, please don't drop me home, because it's not my home, it's their home, and I'm welcome no more. And if a double-decker bus crashes into us, to die by your side is such a heavenly way to die. And if a 10-ton truck kills the both of us, to die by your side, well, the pleasure, the privilege is mine. Take me out tonight. Oh, take me anywhere. I don't care, I don't care, I don't care. And in a darkened underpass, I thought, oh God, my chance has come at last. But then a strange fear gripped me. I just couldn't ask. In the velvet darkness of the blackest night, burning bright, there's a guiding star that tells you what or who you are. There's a light over at the Frankenstein place. There's a light burning in the fireplace. There's a light in the darkness of everybody's life. Take me out tonight. Oh, take me anywhere. I don't care, I don't care, I don't care. Driving in your car, I never want to go home, because I haven't got one. I haven't got one. And if a double-decker bus crashes into us, to die by your side is such a heavenly way to die. And if a 10-ton truck kills the both of us, so what? To die by your side, well, the pleasure, the privilege is mine. There is a light and it never goes out. There is a light and it never goes out. There is a light and it never goes out. There is a light. In the final moments of the book, the monster appears. He boards the ship, and Robert Walton finds him hovering over Victor's now lifeless form. And Robert Walton writes, he sprung from the cabin window upon the ice raft which lay close to the vessel. He was soon borne away by the waves and lost in darkness and distance. And just then, the ship breaks free from the ice, and Robert Walton looks down into the freezing water, and he sees his reflection. He sees himself for the first time. And then he turns the ship around, and he goes home. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for the band. Marlene Ganader, Ben Ahrens, Zachary Baker, and the arranger and music director, Jeff Cubeta. I'm Salty Brine. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. If you don't know me, I make evenings of theater out of whole incredible albums. Thank you so much for coming out to our Smiths show. We have one more performance on Friday, and if you know anybody you think would like it, there's still a couple of tickets left, so tell them to come and hang out with, hey, get out of my way. And rude. Also, if you want to know more about what I do or find out about the other albums in the collection or join our mailing list and find out we've got more shows coming up, just check out my website at www.thesaltiestbrine.com. Thank you. There's actually one more song on the album, and we'd like to do it for you if that's okay. Marvelous. Before we do, I would just like to say, everyone has a monster inside of them. My monster is no different from yours, except for the fact that mine is gorgeous and talented. Thank you.
2, 3, 4.
From the Ice Age to the Dole Age, there is but one concern. I have just discovered some girls are bigger than others. Some girls are bigger than others. Some girls' mothers are bigger than other girls' mothers. As Antony said to Cleopatra as he opened a crate of ale, oh, I say, take my breath away. My breath away. I just died in your arms tonight. It must have been some kind of kiss. I just died in your arms tonight. You better lose yourself in the music the moment you own it. You better never let it go. You only get one shot. Do not miss your chance to blow. This opportunity comes once in a lifetime. Fame, fame, fatal fame.
It can play hideous tricks on
It's
the
so
brain.
easy to laugh. It's so easy to hate. It takes guts to be gentle and kind. I'm alone, I'm alone, I'm alone, I'm alone. Big mouth. Istanbul, say Constantinople, say Istanbul, Constantinople. I am human and I need to be loved. There is a light and it never goes out. There is a light. That is why all the girls in town follow you all around. Just like me, they long to be close to you. Some girls are bigger than others. Some girls are bigger than others. mothers. Some girls' mothers are bigger than other girls' mothers. And when I see you like this, and when I see you like this,
Raindrops keep falling on my
send me
head.
the pillow,
Raindrops keep falling
the
on my
one
head.
that you dream of.